July 21st, 2020. Mr. Brett? Consider approval of the bid for 2020 cafeteria uniform shoes to be awarded to Life Care Uniforms.
Ms. Robin, I thought we'd start with item 1A.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
It
And
moved
1A
down
is
on me.
just
I'm
for
sorry.
review.
Review year-to-date actual budgets for major funds for the month of 2020. I'm sorry.
Yeah, again, information just for your purposes only. We're anticipating the year-end to trend just very close to budget with a slight deficit, and we feel we're pretty comfortable in that area. So just for your information, no action is needed.
Any questions on the actual budget? Okay. Consider approval of the various revised operating budgets for the special review funds, revenue funds.
Thank you, Ms. Robin. We're asking for a revised budget, consider approval for various special revenue fund operation changes. In the special revenue fund changes, there are 7 new funds totaling $969,000 that were added since the original budget was approved. They are, the largest is the ESSER CARES Act funding. So we're asking for approval on that. That's purchasing our one devices. The redesign 1003A, which is mainly textbooks. The child nutrition program, fresh fruit and vegetable program, $88,000. The textbook was $320,000. Those are the largest of the new funds. In the CARES Act, we originally budgeted $7.6 million, but we're revising it down in this to $472,000 only because that's the equipment we received by June 30th. The rest of the money and purchases will roll over to the 2021 budget. And then we have some federal and state LA4 pre-K funds. They were combined from 2 funds into 1 state fund, so we're revising that budget here. The money's the same, it's just a change in the budget for the funds. And a few other things. Striving Readers Comprehension Learning Program was awarded an additional $400,000 than we originally expected, so we're showing that in this revised budget. So those are the things we have in our revised budget we're asking y'all to consider today to approve.
I hear a motion.
Motion to approve the revised budget.
Question.
Second by Mr. Duncan.
Mr. Schnatterbach, what page is this is a 58-page document that we're looking at. Can you point me to where the CARES Act fund?
That's going to be on page 12 and 13. Actually, page 13.
Okay, give me just a minute.
Page number 13, Ms. Cindy.
Okay.
That's
Oh,
11.
I'm
2 more
sorry.
pages down. That's okay. So originally, this is new to us this year, so originally we had 0 budgeted. At one point, I came to you with a revised budget of the $7.6 million, but because we ordered the material, only devices totaling about $470,000 came in at the end of June. In order to avoid having a 5% variance on this item, we're adjusted the budget down. The money's still there. It will be in our 2021 budget, and we'll spend those funds as we receive the devices.
So you're saying this one that's on, so ESSERF CARES Strong Start, that's where the money is going to be coming in to pay for the one-to-one devices that we're...
Correct. That's a big portion of it is the one-to-one devices.
And the total amount that we're supposed to receive from that is how much money?
$7.6 million.
Okay.
That includes the non-public school allocation.
Okay. But we only received $471,000 of that as of the date that the budget ended for last year. Is that...
Correct. Correct.
Spent that.
We only spent it. In this fund, you spend it and you ask for reimbursement. So we only were able to spend and purchase because the devices came in by the end of June. Now, we have devices now. They came in after June 30th. and that's our end of the year. So that's the thing, the point here is this, in order to, this budget is from July 1 to June 30th. So in order to finalize this budget, we need to actually receive the material before the end of the year for us to record it in that school year. Even though we received it after June 30th, we'll record it in the 2021 year, where the money's still held at the state level. We can get reimbursed for it by submitting the proper documentation for the expenditures to get reimbursed.
Okay. So, again, my question was that as of the date that this budget closed, we had not actually received any of those funds, is the way I'm reading this document.
$471,000.
So we had received 471,000,
We,
and then we spent all 471,000.
correct. We
And-
actually, Mr. Brett Duncan, we only receive the money once we spend it and have documented evidence that we spent it. We're able to journal entry back to last year if we have documentation within 30 days. So we may have been reimbursed in the middle of July for these expenditures, but it would have been recorded in last year's books.
Okay, so then what we're approving is only the journal entry. I'm just trying to
Yes,
this is a lot of money,
yes,
and there's a lot of people that want to make sure
we
and
spend it correctly.
that we're
correct.
spending it correctly and that we're doing our job as a board to, you know,
That's correct.
watch all this. I'm trying to figure out this journal entry, which, you know, it says 0, 0, and then it has the entries. I just want to make sure I understand what I'm approving
Yes.
or,
Let's take a step back and I'll explain it.
Thank you.
Originally, we did not know, when we originally set this budget up back in September of last year, we did not know the pandemic was going to occur. We did not budget anything for CARES Act.
got it?
I came to y'all in March, April, and did a revised budget. We knew we would get CARES Act money. Y'all revised the budget to show the full amount, which was $7.6 million. We attempted to spend the money. We ordered things to do things such as one-to-one device, and those devices did not all come in by June 30th. So I could not record the expenditure against the budget within the 1920 calendar year. So I'm adjusting the budget down to show what expenditures we actually received, and then what I can account for in the 1920 school year.
Okay,
The remaining funds are still held at the state level for us. We've now spent them in July. And in our 2021 budget, which I'll be presenting to y'all at the next Finance Committee meeting, we're going to show those expenditures, the remaining of the $7.6 million there.
okay. So I'm gonna go just line by line to make
Sure.
sure I'm reading it. So within the last budget year, we received, that's the first line is telling me that we received $471,849. We've actually received those within the budget year that we're talking about.
Correct.
And then from those revenues, we spent, in the last budget year, $242,000 on telephone expenses. Now, what are the telephone expenses?
Those are going to be the MiFis and the hotspots tied into the one devices.
Okay. And then the other, we spent another $159,519 on salaries for staff or staff services. Is that, okay. And that has to do with just staff to administer
I would have to
this-
get more detail to break it down, but I would venture to say it's related. It's not additional staff. I imagine it's related with the CARES Act funding. I don't know specifically outside that.
the stuff that fit the requirements to be able to use those funds.
That's correct.
Partly was building out that virtual platform,
It
with some of
could be
those
that, yes.
expenses, yeah.
And then indirect costs, do we have any specificity on that?
It's a percentage of cost, and that indirect cost is transferred to the general fund to cover the cost of ordering the materials, processing payroll, recording accounts, that type of stuff. It's a cost that's associated with all funds.
Okay. All right. And that's pretty much the extent of what we're approving as far as those types of funds today. That's
Correct.
it. Okay. All right, that's all I needed. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Cindy, you got both
You
the
ready to
motion
vote?
and the second?
Yes, ma'am, I have Mr. Toller made the motion, Mr. Duncan seconded it.
Call for
Ready?
vote.
Okay. Voting is open. Voting is closed. Motion passes unanimously.
All right, we're going to move on to C, consider approval to contract with ESS to provide substitute employee payroll processing for all substitute teachers, paraprofessionals, food service workers, and custodians.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This item is something we've been working on, we're very excited about. ESS is a vendor that does payroll processing, and we're recommending to contract with them to process for our substitute payroll employees. What this will do for the school system is that under the agreement, ESS will cover our ASOP expenditures. That will result in about $46,000 a year in savings. We will reduce our workers' comp liability because these employees will no longer be paid or employed by the school system. They'll be employed through the employment agency, so they'll bear the workers' comp exposure. We should see a significant savings there. And then there should be a reduction in work at the school-based level, where right now our school secretaries are spending between 1 hour and 1.5 hours each day trying to find substitute teachers each day to fill the classroom. This employment company, they will have a dedicated manager who will focus on getting and recruiting substitute employees. This contract company will also have a training program in place to specifically train our substitute employees, so we'll have better trained employees. The benefit for our employees that will go with this contract company is they'll get weekly paychecks instead of monthly paychecks. They won't be a month delayed, they'll get them weekly. They'll also be offered some benefits through the contract company, such as health care, vision, dental, and life that we don't offer them today. And then they also have some incentives and some referral program incentives eligible for those employees. So I think it's a win-win for both the school system and for our employees.
If I could add something, Mr. Schneiderbach, and this company, it has committed to using our current substitutes in their pool of applicants.
Correct.
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Silly.
Move to adopt administration's recommendation.
I'll second it. I have a question. Mr. Nottaway, have we used this before? Have we used anything like this before?
We have not. Mr. Jinko and I have talked with agencies in the past. The overhead rate on the other agencies we talked to were very high. This one is much more competitive, dropped down from 38% down to 26%. So it's more cost effective to do it now. And then the extra benefits that they offer their employees is very rewarding for their employees. And the fact that they're going to bear and hold the workers' comp liability is also rewarding.
Are we losing any of our employees to put the contractor in place?
No. All our no, we're not reducing any full-time positions.
I mean, like clerical work, because it talks about savings.
Yes, that's why I have it listed as soft savings. Those employees we will not reduce a half a person out of our HR department. We plan that person will be able to refocus their duties and pick up other responsibilities in that department.
That seems like, you see that a lot in business whenever you contract labor out, but yet you keep the employees that used to do the work.
Well,
So you talk about saving money in the long run, but you're just adding to the list of administration to do the same job. Does that make sense?
It does, and in most situations, that's what you'd hear. But one of the big time savings is the school secretary won't be focusing her time finding teacher subs. They'll be able to focus on attending and doing the things that school secretaries are supposed to do. So, if you look at their job description, finding subs isn't on their job description. But they end up doing it because it's critical in getting teacher subs in the classroom. So now they can focus more on their attention. They can provide better service to the school and to the parents.
But and this contract company is not involved in any other aspect of our employment.
No, we haven't, this is a new vendor, we haven't worked with them. I don't think they're even in the state, so.
No, I mean, they're not gonna hire new teachers or new bus drivers or
No.
new,
And they will not take on the substitute bus driver. That's one position we'll still continue to handle.
that was all the question.
Mr. Schnaubach, is this the only agency that we enlisted to do this?
No,
particular-
we checked out 3 agencies,
Let me pull it up.
interviewed them and met with each one, saw the proposals, and we found that ESS was the one that offered the best program
Right,
and the most benefits for our employees.
Are they exclusive in just hiring educational personnel?
That's all they do is education.
Okay.
I had a question. I know you mentioned that this would help our school secretaries. It's my experience with some of our schools that it actually takes up a substantial amount of our assistant principal's time each morning trying to fill spots for teachers who need substitutes, particularly when they're sending those requests in at the last minute. What will the process look like when this gets put in place as far as, what is going to be the new task of our school-based personnel to initiate getting this service?
I'm going to defer that question to Mr. Vitter. Or to Mr.
So right now, we have a program called Frontline, which y'all may know as ASOP. That's the substitute system. So it's when a sub comes and they have the whole list that's available for people to come and call them to come in to do a duty. It's also the same place where the teachers log in to put in their absence, or a para to put in their absence. So it's a holding place. The great thing about this company is they take the ASOP and they keep it on our website. So there's no new training for our teachers, there's no new training for our administrators to go in and put in an absence. So let's say I'm absent on Tuesday, I would go in, log into my ASOP account, put that I'm absent on Tuesday and the reason why, sick, jury duty, family emergency, personal day, whatever. That will still stay the same. The only change it would be is instead of the Tangipahoa Parish School System brand or logo, it would be the ESS branded logo. We'll still have it on our website. We may move it to the HR for a little bit easier and more efficient, using of the spot. But when that ASOP when the teacher does an ASOP absence, then that notification would go instead of to our ASOP system where the principal or the secretary would have to go in and find the fill. The dedicated person through ESS would get that notification. And we can do a number of different things with that person. We can actually we have some space in HR, we can set up a computer where they can get into the office at 6 in the morning, log in and start placing subs. There's a 24-hour call center, so that there's a lot of flexibility and variables there. But the ASOP system stays the same, so there's no new sign-ons, there's no new pins, there's no new logins. It's a very smooth transition. But when the teacher logs the absence, or an absence for a para is logged, or whomever logs the absence, the notification goes to ESS, the dedicated person, or the 24-hour call center.
So what about those last-minute situations, though, where, assistant principal gets to school, finds out that there's 4 teachers that didn't show up, and they got to hurry up last minute and get a sub? Is this provider going to help us with that situation?
Right. So there actually is going to be a live, human being that can sit in my cubicle in HR. They'll have an email. They'll have a contact number. I would have to assume there's going to be a cell number that ESS will give them. We'll hand all that information out to them, and the assistant principal can contact that person directly. And if it's 8 in the morning, there is a cell phone or there's an email or a text. So the communication should be quick. And then they can either, most of even our frontline system now has an app. So, ESS would have access to that app so they can, if she's on the road or she's left for the day or, whatever, or whoever the person may be, they can get to that app and place the sub as quickly as possible.
So that'll free
So
up
the
our,
contacts will be there for sure.
so that'll free up our assistant principals to do actual assistant principal responsibilities
Right,
each morning rather than having to track down last-minute subs.
correct.
And just to add here, part of the, not only hiring our current subs, but helping to recruit more individuals in our parish and other parishes that want to sub, and then doing the training for those individuals as well.
So I had a question. So a teacher gets up on a Monday morning and can't go to school. So she gets online and does all that online. At what point will she know that somebody's going to come?
So, well, it's, when they do that, they can either select a specific sub if they like them or if they've used them before. They have that capability. I can't tell you that the teacher would know that the sub has been placed, but in the system, with the sub picks up the job, then the job, I guess for lack of a better phrase, the job number gets filled. I don't know that there's a communication that goes to the teacher. It would probably go to the administrator or the person who has what we call a campus access. They have a campus access. They would probably get the notification. I don't think there's a notification that goes to the teacher.
Okay. But so they're not really bypassing the assistant principal totally, right? They'll still be involved to a degree.
Right, so everyone will still have their own login to the ASOP system. They can probably still look at all the reports. They could,
Right.
see whatever. They have different filters for, Mr. Jinko and I are the administrators of the whole system, and then principals have a security level, assistant principals have a security level, secretaries have a different security level. So wherever they fall on their user level, that information would still be available to them.
Okay.
And then ESS has told us that at any time if they wanted a report, they can provide reports to us daily, weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, whatever we require for them to give us as far as, because we would like to see their fill rate, obviously. So if we want to see that that's at that 80, 90%, we can request reports at any time.
Okay.
Right? Online voting, Ms. Cindy?
Voting is open. Voting is closed. Motion passes unanimously.
Consider approval of bid 2024 cafeteria uniforms and shoes to be awarded to Life Care Uniforms. That's where I started, but I guess finally got to it.
Yes, thank you. We recommend awarding the bid to Life Care Uniforms. They're the only bid with their local company, and they provide a good service in the past.
So move.
Second.
Online voting?
Voting is open. Voting is closed. Motion passes unanimously.
Consider approval of the bid for cafeteria janitorial and paper supplies to be awarded to the vendor in the items winning bidder column.
Yes, thank you. That's what we recommend the vendors listed in the items winning bidder column to approve.
Move to adopt administration's recommendation.
Second.
Any questions? Online voting, Ms. Cindy?
Voting is open. Voting is closed. Motion passes unanimously.
Consider approval of bid 2020 small cafeteria equipment to be awarded to the vendors and the items winning bidder. Is that the name of the company, items winning bidder?
No, it's the column listed on the spreadsheet where the vendors are listed. They had the low price on that item.
Okay, thank you.
And so it's the same on this bid, the award the vendors and the items winning bidder column.
Thank you.
Move to accept administration's recommendations.
Second.
Questions?
So, I see that we are taking a bid, right, for these items that are listed here. My question is, when are we going to be ordering these products?
All year.
This would be throughout the whole school year. This
Huh?
would be starting from July 1 through June of next year. If the child nutrition program needed that item and they put in the order, they would order from the low bid vendor.
They're good for the year, Ms. Kenner's here. The price is good for the whole year, and as they need the items, they'll order.
Okay. Online voting, Ms. Cindy?
Voting is open. Voting is closed. Motion passes unanimously.
Item G, consider approval of bid commodity delivery to be awarded to S&W Wholesale Foods.
So move.
Second.
Questions? Online voting, Ms. Cindy?
Voting is open. Voting is closed. Motion passes unanimously.
Move on to H, consider approval for frozen food products to be awarded to Pond's Food.
Yes, that's a recommendation to award to Pond Food.
Move to adopt administration's recommendation.
Second.
Questions? Online voting?
Voting is open. Voting is closed. Motion passes unanimously.
I, consider approval processed food products to be awarded to Pond Foods.
Move to adopt administration's recommendation.
Second. One question on that, Madam Chairman. Looking at the prices from last year to this year, have you seen a drastic increase, decrease?
On the individual items, you know how it is, some go up, some go down, it's not,
I'm just curious what the trend is, if it's,
Good evening. We see a fluctuation. We see some things go up, some things go down, and some things kind of stay the same. For the most part, we have seen a little increase, of course, because of what's going on with the COVID. So some things kind of balance, but then some things have increased. And we just pray for availability, because that's what we're going to have when we send our orders in for our foods. So.
Right.
Online bidding? Online bidding. Online voting? She said bidding.
Well, voting is open.
Can we take a bid?
Voting is closed. Motion passes unanimously.
Consider approval for 2020 of milk and milk products to be awarded to Brown's Dairy.
yes, that's a recommendation.
so move.
Second.
Any questions? Online voting?
Voting is open.
Now we're getting ice cream.
Oh, yeah. Consider approval for ice cream to be awarded to Hershey's.
Wait.
Yeah.
Voting is closed. Motion passes unanimously.
How much ice cream is?
All right, last one is K. Consider approval of bid for ice cream to be awarded to Hershey's.
Absolutely.
I think we need to sample that, though, next year.
I so move on ice cream. I move.
Who second?
Second.
Any questions? Online voting?
Voting is open.
Bet nobody votes no against ice cream.
Voting is closed. Motion passes unanimously.
I suddenly want ice cream.
Thank you.
Is there any other business for the Finance Committee? If not, we are finished.